Jane Watkins and I have been the lead proponents of using StudyMate in the classroom or for online learning. I've been using in both the day program and my online classes because we have Blackboard courses for both. So just to show you a little bit, so Respondus does several things, but one of them is StudyMate. So if you go to the respondus.com website and you choose on products and StudyMate, there's more information there. And there's demos, there's webinars that you can attend that are produced by Respondus. There's some guides and so forth. It does work both through the PC and through mobile phones, and tablets. So students can use it for however they choose, or whenever they choose. So StudyMate is a product that helps students learn I'll say the terminology that we're doing in class through some activities and self-assessments and games. So I will show you the product. Everyone should have gotten an email from me with there are 2 attachments and a website address. Just quickly, the 2 attachments, one was a student guide that you can put in your Blackboard course. And if students have problems, it's a guide for them specifically. It has a lot of the same information that the instructor guide has, except it doesn't go into how to set up grading and how to enter questions and things like that. The other one that I sent out was an instructor guide, which has a lot of the material in it that we're going to be covering today, but in a step-by-step format. So let me show you a StudyMate assignment that I have set up already. So if we go into a Blackboard course that I already have set up, and we'll go into this one. Now you can put the StudyMate assignments wherever you want to. You can use them as learning tools. You can use them as assignments for students that can be graded. I've chosen to use them as assignments, and I have them set up in a folder in the assignments section of my course. So we'll go into the folder. And just so you get a feeling for what StudyMate is actually doing, and then I'll show you how to set one up. Once you have it set up, it'll look like this, and I have it assigned to say Chapter 1. If you click on Select this item, it'll open up StudyMate. Takes a couple seconds here. Okay. So the students will only see, well, it depends how you have it set up, but the students should only see the View button, and as an instructor, we see the rest. But under View button, under the View tab here, they can choose any assortment of activities. So fact cards, and I'll show you that, which is just that. It's a fact that they can review and study, and there's a next and a previous button, so they can just shuffle through them. If they reset it, they can go back to the beginning. They can also shuffle the cards so that they're in a different order when they flip through them. They can do Fact Cards Plus, which is kind of the same thing. I haven't really figured out what the plus means, but you can have different topics in here. I haven't chosen to do that, so it looks the same as the fact cards. You can do flashcards, and basically this again gives them a question and asks them to answer it, and if they flip the card over, it'll have the answer. So it's just like if they would have made flashcards of their own. Pick a letter is kind of like Wheel of Fortune, I guess. They get so many tries to guess the word, um, and they can have hints, and they can show the answer and go to the next question. Um, Fill in the blanks, again, is just fill in the blank. The one I like the most is called Challenge, and it's a Jeopardy type game where, mixed topics for 100, Alex. So they can choose on, a topic and a amount, and they can actually play a Jeopardy sort of game. So once this is all set up, they can go through any of the activities. They can choose how they want to learn and go through all of the activities or some of them. A lot of the same, well, the information is entered once by you, so it's used by, the same data is used by all of the activities from the student's perspective. Okay, so that's all the activities they can choose from. So they can choose the way they want to learn, basically. So there's a couple ways you can get the questions and answers into StudyMate. You can actually set them up yourself one by one. And this is one that I already have set up, but you can give it a title. And there's 3 different types of data that you can put in. A fact. So fact is just a phrase or any sort of sentence. And you can choose a topic. And you can choose where it goes, either fact card or fact card plus. If you just leave it to choose, it goes to both. But you can just enter a sentence or a fact, and it say add to list, and it'll be added to the database here. You have a term with a definition, so you can put the term in. Let's say it was planning, and then you can put the definition in. That's not the right thing, but I'm just putting something in for now. And then you can add it to the list, and it'll get added to the database as a term or a definition. You can also do multiple choice questions with more than one answer, or how many ever you choose. It does up to 5. So you put the question in and the answers in. So this is the very manual process if you choose to do it on your own. There's another way to, I'll say, load questions into StudyMate, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But this is where all the data gets stored. So if I pull this up in an expanded view, you'll see all the questions and answers that I have populated in here currently. And then these little buttons at the corner let you scroll through your questions. So I think I have close to 100 in here. Multiple choice, true, false, facts, all those sorts of types of questions. Okay. So I guess, Donna, we have any questions so far?
We do not. I don't see any
Okay.
questions at all.
Okay. So the next tab that we'll just go over to the next tab, and that's settings. So if you go to settings here, you can change several things. You can do editing rights. I've always put it to only allow the instructor to edit. There is an option where you can um, allow everyone in the course to edit each other's items, so the students could actually enter questions and answers of their own. I'm not sure how I would personally use that, but you can do that. And then you can choose only the original author can edit the items. Um, so whoever enters that question is the only one that can edit it. I've only used, like I said, I've only used the only the instructor um, because I want them to use the questions that I input. But you can allow them to enter and edit their own questions. Um, you have a randomize feature here, so you can randomize the questions. You can either do all or none or some. I leave it to all, and it seems to work well. Um, again, activities. I've not used the other option here, but I think Jane has, and basically it limits the amount of yeah it limits the assignments or the activities to only text. So if there was a student in the class that can't get to can't get to the Flash because this uses Flash um, to display the activities. But like I said, I've not had any problems with the show all activities, um, so I've not enforced that. Language, you can change the languages. We have no really need to do that. You can add topics. So if you want to add categories or topics for the Jeopardy game, you can do that and then assign your questions to the topics. Again, I have not used that option, but it's there for us to use. And when you can these two little check marks will allow you to turn on and off certain things. So you can require a topic for new items. So when you enter a new item, you would have to add a topic to it. And you can allow students to add topics. Again, I've not used either one of these. One thing I have used is the grading. If you enable grading, you can set up the column name. So we'll just say chapter 1. And you can say the number of points possible, and we'll just say 10 for right now. So when I save my changes down here at the bottom, a column will get added to the Blackboard gradebook that says chapter 1. I usually put like chapter 1 safe or StudyMate or SM or something so that I know where the grade is coming from. But it will add a column to the gradebook that's worth 10 points. And then when you grade the students, the grades will automatically be updated to the Blackboard gradebook. So that's a neat little feature that I like to use. And then I've not used the bottom down here, the StudyMate.com section. So I don't exactly know what that does, but I'm assuming it's agreeing to their terms, which we all have done. So when you save changes, like I said, your changes will be saved for this assignment, um, and you'll get a little notification up here. So if you're grading items, um, you can then, let's say a student's done the activities. The grading tab is where you'd actually grade um, the assignment. Unfortunately, I don't have one that has grading behind it, but um, once a student has done the activities or done some of the activities at least, um, their name will populate here. It'll show you how many items they've done, and if they've edited, well, we're not allowing them to edit, but I'm not allowing them to edit, so that would be 0 all the time. and this would be 0 because they don't add items either. So the only thing that you would see is activities viewed. It doesn't show you how much time they've spent doing the activities. It just tells you that they've viewed an activity. So, they could view 5 or 6 of the activities, and it would show up as 5 or 6, 6 or 5, how many ever they view. But you would not know whether they actually completed the activity. That's one thing that I've found that is a um, little worrisome. But so you kind of have to encourage them to actually do the activities. Um, we'll we'll skip. Is there any questions yet, Donna? Or
We must have a shy group today. I don't have any questions
yeah,
at
okay.
all.
Either that or I'm doing a really good job. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I said you can directly enter your questions into the database, or you can use Respondus's test bank network. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but let me go to. So this is the test bank. This is what it looks like. So what you would do if you're going to use Respondus's test bank network, you would actually go to Respondus, their website first, and you would see if they have a test bank that's available for your textbook. So in this case, this class that I'm showing you is Management by Daft. And if we search on that, you'll get a list. Um, and I'm using the 11th edition, so I would click on More Information and Test Bank Request. So what happens here is you'd say, yes, I've adopted the textbook, and you'd fill out all this other information. And what will happen is once you submit it in approximately 24 to 48 hours, you'll get an email that looks like this. And in the email will be some instructions on how to use the test bank network. The information that you're really looking for is this information here: the file code, the password, your name, your institution, and your email. Really, you just need the file code and the password. So once you get this information, you can go back to StudyMate and put that information in here. Let me do this. And you can copy and paste it. And when you hit Link Test Bank, it will actually link to the Respondus Test Bank network for your book based on your file code and your password, and it will give you the option to use the test bank from the book that's made by Cengage. So we're doing chapter 1. If I choose, Management 10th edition, chapter 1, so it'll give me a list of questions, and I can choose which ones I want to import into my StudyMate assignment. If I want to choose them all on this page, now this is a little tricky because it goes by page. So if I click here, I've selected these 12 that are on this page. If I go to the next page, I would click again and get all 12 and keep going until there's no more left. And once I click all the questions that I want to import, I'm not going to do them all, I would hit down here, add selected items to this project. And once I do that, all the questions will be the multiple choice questions because that's what's selected up here. will be imported into your StudyMate assignment, just this for this chapter, or however you want to set it up. And then they'll be available, those questions and answers will be available for students to use. You can also do terms and definitions. And unfortunately, the test bank network doesn't have fact and term definitions in them, but what it's going to try to do is auto-generate these questions from the information that it has. So what I found is that you need to be careful and go through them, um, because like here, it's using a multiple choice question. Amanda Rowley, president of blah, 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 to generate a question for fact or a term or definition, which this isn't a term or definition, so you would not want to include, well, I wouldn't want to include that in my database of questions for the students to use. The same with this one, when Terry Doyle. So you kind of have to be more careful with the terms and definitions and the facts, because the facts is the same thing, um, when you're importing them, because some of them are not facts and definitions, because they're trying to interpret that from the multiple choice questions that Respondus does have. And again, if we click on fact, it'll give me the same message. Um, so, but that's another way for you to get information into your StudyMate assignment. Um, pre-prepared information, and that's what I've done with the classes that I've set up so far. Is use the test bank network to get the data or the questions that I need for the students. You can also add your own questions once you've imported the test bank um, network questions. You can still go back and enter your own questions if you want. So it's very flexible as far as getting the data um, into the assignment for the students to use. Now, you don't have to do it by chapter like I was saying before. You can select things from chapter 1 and upload them. Then you can go to chapter 2 and upload some of those. It depends on how you want to set up your assignment and your StudyMate assignment. Normally, I've chose to do them by chapter because it's easier for the students to remember or to focus on certain types of information. But I mean, you could also do like all the chapters that are going to be in a midterm. You could set up one assignment, one StudyMate assignment with how many ever chapters are going to be in your midterm, 7, 8, whatever. Um, but you can import all that data um, pretty easily using the test bank network. So is there any questions about the test bank? Because I know that's a little. No?
Could I ask, show of hands? Has everybody here or anybody in the group used the test bank? If you have used a test bank, if you'd raise your hand for us. Okay, it looks like we have maybe one out of the group, Keith, that have actually used a test bank. So you may want to talk a little more about that.
Okay, yeah, the test bank is just like is one of the instructor resources that the book manufacturers work with Respondus and have the sample questions, we'll say, uploaded to the Respondus test bank network. So it's a way for us as instructors to get standardized questions um, that could be used in testing if you really want um, to for students, yeah, to be used for student testing or for student assessment. Um, so yeah, when you link, like I said, the thing that takes the longest is getting the coding, the passwords and the file codes that you need. Um, Most books that I use have been on the Respondus Test Bank network. Um, so when you search for them, you will find them. I wish I had an example of another book. Let's see. You can just put in biology, let's say. And if you just put in biology, it'll come up with a whole list of them.
Keith, I have
But
got.
when you select it, again, okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's about the test
No,
bank.
go ahead.
Um, Someone
Go
says,
ahead.
do I have to register with Respondus in order to be cleared for access to the test banks?
No, you don't have to be a customer login for Respondus. Um, you just basically go and find your book and then fill out this form, but you don't have to be a user of Respondus now.
And then the next question is, do we need to upload the data for a multiple chapter set for a midterm or final again if it has been uploaded for single chapters?
Yes, because um, the assignments are individualistic, so the data doesn't cross over from one to another. So if you have it set up per chapter already, and then you want to do a midterm, you would have to go and upload all the data again because it's not shared across assignments. It's per assignment. It's something maybe we can talk to Respondus about. But yeah, the test bank or the data sets are specific to that assignment. Um, what else? But the test bank I find is pretty interesting. I mean, it has a lot of good questions in it, and you'll see when you link to the test bank, it'll show popularity ratings. So who uses it or how popular is that question? Sometimes that's how I gauge whether I'm going to use the question or not. Um, and you can flag them. You can see the properties of them, um, of the questions. I've never delved into these yet, but you can preview how it's going to look. Um, and the answer here has the little asterisks in front of it. Well, the students won't see the asterisks, but you'll see it in the preview mode. So, and you can do individual items and add them to the project. Um, but yeah, if I wanted to make a StudyMate assignment with per chapter, let's say I'm using 10 chapters, I would have to upload the data again if I was going to do it for a midterm.
Uh,
Um,
Keith, we have another question that I think fits in right where you're talking right now. Someone says, "I have done my exams in Respondus using the test banks. Am I able to now load the questions directly into Blackboard?"
well, if you use the Respondus software and you have the test banks already, you probably have the codes that you need already. Because the Respondus 4 software uses the same codes as StudyMate does. So if you have the codes already, you'll register those codes in the uh, in the StudyMate assignment. But you can't. You know, it's the same data. whether you use Respondus software or Respondus or the StudyMate feature. They link to the same test bank, let's put it that way. So if you already are using the test bank network in Respondus 4 to create tests and quizzes and stuff, it's the same file code and passwords that you would use for StudyMate.
So I want to make sure I understand because again, I'm on the training side, not actually teaching. So if a person is using Respondus to bring in a Word document, like an exam that they personally prepared into a course, they could also go to Respondus and go to the test network and just pull it straight in from the test bank into
Well,
Blackboard.
Respondus 4 is a piece of software that we have licensed to at Limestone that is made by Respondus, and it's a test creator, let's say. So you would link to the test bank network to get the questions to put on your test. Um, so the Respondus 4 software, that's all it does is formats and creates tests that you can either print out or you can upload to, I think you can save it out to a Blackboard file and upload that to your Blackboard testing. Um, but it requires Respondus 4, the Respondus 4 software requires the same file code and password for you to link to the test bank network to get the data. So it's the same data, um, but in different pieces of software. That makes sense?
It does. Another question has come in and it says, after the project is done by the student and it is graded, will they see the correct answers?
Well, they can see the correct answers when they're actually doing the assignment. So, or when they're doing the activity. So let's say let me go back here. You do pick a letter. Um, so if they get down to zero on the pick a letter, they get down to zero, and they just don't know what it is. They can click on show answer, and it will give them the answer. Um, so they actually see it while they're doing it. It's not like they go back and look for it later after it's graded. Really, the grade is only centered around how many activities they did, not how they did on the activities. So, whether they had 5 or 6 correct answers is not how StudyMate grades. It grades on how many they did. So this is the second pick a letter that I've done. So when they graded, it would show 2, regardless of whether I got it right or not. So it really has nothing to do with right or wrong answers. It has to do with the grading has to do with how many times they did an activity, and they see that, like I said, they can see the correct answers when they're doing the activity. So I don't know if I go to grade now whether it'll show. No, it won't because I'm the instructor. Did that answer the question? I hope so.
Any other questions? This is good. Thank you, Keith. This is so interesting because I had no idea about this. As a trainer, this is very good information. We have a lot of instructors that get on board with this.
Yeah, I found the students like the activities. Some of them have had problems with using Internet Explorer to get to the activities. I recommend they use Firefox to get into Blackboard and then do the activities. Um, I'm not sure why Internet Explorer is not doesn't work that well for them, but they seem to like it, and I've had some that have said that they can see that their test grades are going up or are better because they had time to go in and do some of the activities and see the answers because it's kind of a preview into the test. Um, and like I said, you can set them up as assignments or you can just set them up as assignments where they're graded, or you don't have to assign grading to it, and they can just do it, if they would prefer to, um, to help them study for the test or an examination. Um, the other thing that we've been using it for, what was I going to say now? I lost my train of thought. Um, but the students say that the ones that I polled have said that they like the quiz, they like the challenge activities. I haven't had anyone really say they like the fact cards. The matching seems to be a lot of fun too, where they ask a question and then they match to the answer. Um, but it's just an interesting way for them to learn the material without having to pay for like not Course Smart. Yeah, the McGraw-Hill product or the Cengage product, the Applia. So it's something that we can just build into our Blackboard classes without an additional cost to the student. And that's why I appreciate using it because it's not an extra cost to the student. It takes a little bit of time to set up, but on the long run, uh, it's there. Once you set it up, it's there for the students to use. Now I have had a little bit of a problem. Well, not a problem, but copying from a master to a to a class shell is a little different. So if there's no more questions on currently, I'll go to that right now.
There is a question. I think this leads right into what you're going to show too. Is it says similar to the Firefox insight just mentioned. Are there any steps you had to learn the hard way, or other insights you can share regarding StudyMate and Respondus? And it sounds like that's a perfect segue into what you're showing us.
Yeah, the copying from like a master to a day, um, like when I get ready to teach a course to a course, Blackboard, yeah, a course that's going to have students in it, um, takes a little bit of extra setup because while the questions and the class, or I'm sorry, the questions and the assignments come over in the copy, you have to go in and I wonder if I have any that are. It's kind of like you have to go in and kickstart the assignment. I'll put it that way. Um, I don't have it in here. Where is it? It's in my learning modules. So this was a class that I set up the master and then I copied into a course. Now this is my MBA class and hopefully it'll do it. No, it didn't do it. Okay, call me a liar. Um, but when you copy it over, it's kind of like you have to click on it the first time and let it set itself up in the class. And I bet you I've done these already. Um, but the students won't be able to access the assignment until you as the instructor do that. I think I've done this already with all of these. Yeah. Um, but yeah, the first time once you copy it over into your day course or your actual course that students are going to be working out of, you have to go in and click on each of the assignments and kind of kickstart it and let it know that it's ready to be used. You don't have to upload questions. You don't have to do any of that stuff, but you do have to like kickstart it to get it to so that these students can um, utilize it. I must have did that to all these already because I have students using them already. Yeah. I wish I had an example, but I don't. Unless I could copy, I can actually do it now. Okay, it's not. It's actually doing the copy. And that'll take a couple minutes to do, but hopefully then I can show you how you have to kickstart it once it's done. So is there any other questions that I can answer while we're waiting on that?
I don't see any in the box yet. Feel free to type in any questions that you may have. Continue to monitor.
Okay, I just got the email saying the course copy was successful, so, but it's not there. Am I in the instructor mode? Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. What happened? Maybe if I go out and come back in. Hmm. Interesting. Well, I don't want to copy the whole course over, so but I will say, I mean, that's the one little thing that I've found that you need to do is when you copy it from a master to another course, in order for students to start using it, you have to like kickstart it and get it to kind of be ready for someone to use it. It's just really clicking on the assignment and then hitting the save button or the save changes button, and it'll be ready for students then.
We have another question. She says, can you tell us about if the book is not found, can you still use StudyMate?
Yeah, if the book's not found in the test bank network, yeah, you can still use StudyMate. It's not something that you have to use with a book that's on Respondus. The only thing is you'd have to load your own questions and answers. Um, there's no automated way to upload them that I've found. other than through the test bank network. Um, Let me go back to where I was in the sixth. But yeah, like you can go to the edit mode and or the edit tab and enter your own questions and answers and add them to the database. Um, I've not used the import feature, so I'm not sure how exactly that works. I can do some, I don't know what the file has to, what's, what file layout it has to have in order for it to import it. But you can import a file. I'm just not sure how it has to be set up. Oh, can import XML and zip files from Respondus 4. Can also import text files. Okay, so here it tells us the formatting. So if you have it in a Word file or a text file, and you have it in this formatting, you can upload it and it'll upload the, I've not tried that.
That's similar to the format using Respondus to bring in
Mm-hmm.
an exam that a professor may have prepared manually. And Word very
Mm-hmm.
specific about the formatting, but but it's a great way to bring a test into Blackboard. You just use it, make sure it's in the correct format, and it zips right through Respondus into your course. So if you're interested in learning more about how that works, and it's different from StudyMate, but it sounds like the same type formatting.
Yeah, it's the same formatting. It's just the file would have to be set up correctly, and then I would say that you'd have to do a quality check on the data to make sure it came in correctly. Because I know I've imported some tests into Blackboard and they've not exactly come in correctly. So I would just, if you're going to use this feature and you have the file set up in the correct format, or you think it's in the correct format, um, I would just do a quality check of the questions before you give it to students to use to make sure. But I've not used this feature, but it sounds sort of pretty straightforward as long as you have the questions in the right format. I wonder if it will use like the, because you can export a test from Blackboard. I don't know if it'll use the same file or not. That's something I'd have to look into. But when you do, if you do that, you would hit browse and find the file, and then if you leave it on add, it'll just add it to the list that's already there, or you can replace all the items in the list. So this would be just an add to what's existing or replace everything. That could be a little dangerous. So you have to be a little careful with the import function. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how exactly that works. I've just been using the test bank network and it works fine. So, but I guess I do have a book coming up that I couldn't find on Respondus today, so I might have to do that. Pretty much that's all I had for today. Unless there's other questions. I know it was a quick and dirty. If you have questions after, please contact myself or Jane Watkins would be happy to help you, or Donna.
Don't contact me. No, I'm kidding. No, really, seriously, Keith and
Don't
Jane.
contact Donna? Okay.
Yeah, don't contact me. Seriously, Keith and Jane use this product, and so they I could probably answer very general questions, but the details you would definitely want to ask them. Do you have any other questions? Keith, any other final